Pachakacha is a Japanese word for chit-chat and is the name of a presentation format created in Japan in 2003 by Astrid Klein and Mark Dytham, two architects looking for a way people could share their work quickly and simply in public. Since then, the idea has spread to over 700 cities around the world. At every Pachakacha night, creative thinkers come together and share their ideas with only 20 images shown for 20 seconds each. Pachakacha, a fast, fun format. Find a location. Join the conversation.
Our next speaker is originally from the Kansas side of Kansas City, holds multiple degrees from the University of Kansas, and works as a web developer at the University of Missouri at Kansas City. She is the co-founder and editor of Committed, a collection of stories about mental illness in student affairs that was released just last year. In her not-so-spare time, she sells cross-stitch on Etsy, collects Wonder Woman memorabilia, so Al and her are new friends, and exists in the complex world of owning both a motorcycle and a minivan. Here to dig a little bit deeper, my friends, on the topic of mental illness, please welcome to the stage Kristen Abell.
Tonight, I'm going to share something with you all that I have only shared with a few people in my life. Some might call that crazy. That's a funny word, isn't it? When I was a teenager, there were times that I hated my life. Okay, to be fair, what teenager doesn't, right? But when I say I hated my life, I mean I hated me, not just my life. I hated who I was and everything about me. Everything just seemed wrong. Plain wrong. I sometimes couldn't see myself living through the next day. And during one of these episodes of hatred, of hating life and myself, I took a bunch of pills. I decided it was time. I was ready. I really didn't want to do this anymore. I couldn't do this anymore. Many of you may not understand, but I bet there's some of you out there that do, whether through your own experience or loved ones. Mental illness doesn't just affect me, it affects all of us. In fact, the National Institute of Mental Health estimates that 1 in 5 adults will be affected by a mental disorder. 1 in 5. You know, even when I'm not depressed, the comfort of depression still tempts me, still makes me want to stop taking my meds, makes me want to slip into that darkness. I know it doesn't make sense, but it's real. For those of us who struggle with mental illness, there can be an appeal to that darkness. But depression. Depression is a bitch. She tempts me with dreamless sleep and then gives me nightmares instead. She tells me I shouldn't need a pill just to be happy, but then makes me sick with sadness. You know, she treats me like shit. But I keep coming back to that familiar. I've been on meds, I've been off meds, I've done therapy, I've journaled, I've exercised, you name it, I have probably tried it. And sometimes I still get depressed. Before I started writing about my illness, there were maybe a handful of people who knew I struggled with it. I mean, to see me, you wouldn't necessarily know I have depression. I don't walk around sad and crying all the time. I don't have scars on my wrists. I even smile sometimes. Mental illness isn't who I am. It's something I have. It's a part of me, not all of me. Don't think of me as depressed. Think of me as a person fighting depression. There's a big difference. Despite my attempt in high school, I wasn't diagnosed with depression until college, mainly because we just didn't talk about it then. But let's be honest, we still don't talk about it now. Even by talking tonight and sharing my story, I recognize I'm making some people uncomfortable. But why do we need to talk about mental illness? Because people are homeless. Because people are hurting others. Because people are dying. When someone struggles with mental illness, they don't just lose, we all lose. 2 years ago now, I shut my office door, crawled under my desk, and cried because I just didn't know what else to do. I considered going to the hospital, but I'll be honest, I was afraid of what my colleagues would say. And yet, what do we preach to our students on a daily basis? That it's okay to ask for help, that it's okay to admit weakness, that it's okay to not be okay. Why do we not extend that same attitude of caring to each other, to our friends and colleagues? You know, I talk a big game, but I'm still afraid. I'm still afraid to take mental health days. I'm still afraid to talk to my coworkers about my illness. I'm still afraid to commit myself, even when I'm hurting my family. If I'm afraid of these things, how afraid must you be? How afraid must you be of me, this person who is just not right in the head? But no, I don't blame you, and I don't blame mental illness either, although, frankly, I'm not a fan. What I really blame is the stigma that has convinced us that mental illness is something other, something to be afraid of, something to hate. The stigma surrounding mental illness is the real villain in all of this. You know, I like to think of those of us who struggle with mental illness as superheroes. We're the ones fighting a battle you cannot witness just to live normal lives. The hills we climb to reach your plateau are steep. But now I ask you, who will join us? Who will join these superheroes in your midst? Who will join us as we fight these battles, as we climb these hills? Who will join us as we stomp out stigma?